Good morning. Welcome to Expat in Science. I am your host, Raju Mandhian. Here at Expat in Science, we take external views of the internal successes by foreigners, immigrants, and expats who have made Philippines their home. This morning, we are breaking the rule a bit, and we are very proud to have somebody who is a balikbayan, and he's not just a balikbayan, he claims himself to be a former prodigy, musician, pianist, and maestro, Jovianney Emmanuel Cruz, to talk about music as a mission. So welcome to Expat Insights, Jovianney.
Thank you for having me here, Raju. It's more my honor than yours.
No, it is totally my honor. I've never had somebody who's as big as you in the world of music on this chair.
Well, I'm just doing basically what I was born to do.
Gosh, that's something. So tell us a bit. I know the world of music knows you, but cats like me don't know you. So can you tell us a bit about yourself very quickly?
Well, I've been playing the piano since I was 2.5 years old, and I lived in. I played my first public performance at Malacanang Palace when I was 6.
President Marcos.
Yes.
Okay.
Then First Lady Imelda Marcos. And when I was 10, I won the national music competitions for young artists.
Held in the Philippines, by the Philippines?
By the Philippines, yeah. It's the national competition.
Yeah.
And then I went to England for about a year at the Cheetham School of Music under the scholarship of Sir Lennox Berkeley, a famed British composer. And then moved to New York and lived there for about 15 years. Studied with a great mentor, Solomon Mikowski, for 15 years.
Right.
And loved New York so much so that I would consider that as my second home, or maybe even my first home.
Your home by choice, this one by genes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I decided to come home after my master's degree. It took me about 5 years to make that decision, to whether stay in New York and have a performing career, or come home and help the country I was born in.
Good. Welcome back. I don't have the right to welcome you back. On behalf of the people watching this show, I welcome you.
Thank you.
I want to know, really want to know, and maybe I'm sure lots of people want to know, how is it to be who you are at the top of this mountain of music, and having traveled across the world and having performed for thousands of audiences of different kind, different caliber?
Well,
what is the world up there like?
I think I've been, throughout my life, I've been blessed. You know, my grandmother was the first female conductor in the Philippines.
What was her name?
Pura Lacson, eventually married a Villanueva. And my mother was a concert pianist. But my mother had 10 children, and I'm the 10th of those.
They were a busy family.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so after the first 9 kids, none of them took up music as a career. So
right.
10 years after the 9th child, I was born, and my mother made sure that I would.
So they saved all the talent. All of them saved it up for you and gave it to you in the end.
Well, I don't know if they saved it up, because now they tell me that if they continued or pursued music, they would be better pianists than I am.
That's what they think.
That's what we'll never know.
No, so the feeling of being up there, what was your peak moment? Like you said, man, I feel on top of the world with this gift, this blessing.
I don't think I've ever felt that.
Your best experience? New York, London, Paris, Hong Kong?
I competed a lot, over 30 international competitions. I played a lot of performances. I've traveled a lot, but I never felt so much, so accomplished as a pianist until now that I'm giving back to the country. I think that I was blessed in a way that, I went through all kinds of really good schools, Manhattan School of Music especially, and I did not have to pay a cent, because I was on scholarship all the time.
Yeah.
And and my parents were in a way grateful that after giving college education to nine of my siblings,
it was
they
a
didn't have to
holiday.
pay
It
for
was a
mine.
holiday.
Mine was a holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
But they really, I think my whole life was based on a lot of their praying. You know, my mother was a very
Wow.
prayerful woman. You know,
Wow.
and so everything that would happen to me, she would always just really pray that nothing bad will happen to me, nothing, you know, that everything will
Come
eventually,
right for you.
right, you know, fall into place. And they did.
It came about. It
Yeah.
came about. Let me ask you this. I know you mentioned this to me before the interview. The fact that your mother dreamed of being a pianist such as you, and that dream transferred onto you, and you became the pianist that she wanted to become. No, and obviously when that shift happens, that somebody's dream is transferred to somebody else, there's a little resistance, a little angst. Did that occur to you? Did that happen?
On
When
my
you were
part
young?
or
On your, the receiving part, of
Well,
course.
I didn't really realize that it was going to be my career eventually. So there was a lot of chasing around the house, making me practice. Obviously, I hated to practice. I still do. If I can get away from practicing, I would. But,
No, you can't.
But I can't.
Yeah.
In order to perform, which I love to do, I have to practice.
Right.
My very, very first appearance towards my parents' friends.
This was before the Malacanang.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, before you were 6, you
yeah,
performed?
I played for them in the house in some party that my parents had, and I must have been about 4 years old or something. And after I played, before I played for them, I asked my mother to give me, you know, I basically bribed her. I'll play if you give me money or something like that.
Well, that's a
peso.
good thing to do.
Yeah.
It makes business sense, right?
And so I played.
Yeah.
And then I heard the applause. And that shocked me.
And
It
that
made me
was-
cry. But at the same time, the exhilaration of hearing the applause was what made me say, hey, I love performing.
That's what
And
you
so I realized if I wanted to hear that all the time,
Yeah.
I should be able to practice.
Sir, Jovianney, no? 2 more minutes before the break. You mentioned that you feel good about giving back. And lots of people who have come and sat on this chair, and they talk about giving back. No? What is it exactly that makes you feel so good about giving back? People talk about it. I want to give back. I'm giving back. But what happens to you inside of you as a musician, as the director of Misyon?
Well, I have realized that and proven that the Filipino is ultra talented. You know, they're very musical. I'd probably be breaking a leg like this, but you know, by saying this, that I would consider Filipinos to be the most musically talented in Asia. You know, and that's been proven worldwide. And it would be such a waste if Filipinos are not, especially musicians, are not given the opportunity to be able to hone their talents. Not everybody can go to Manhattan School of Music or the Juilliard School or Curtis Institute or Cheetham
Lucky
School.
you, lucky them.
Yeah, because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So it should start from here. The good, proper music education should
From
start
the roots
here.
and from the ground.
Yes, and music is actually, and has been proven in Venezuela through the Sistema,
Yeah.
that it can make social change. I don't know if you heard that 38 years ago, Jose Antonio Abreu, the founder of Sistema in Venezuela, took 11 kids out of the streets that were caught in the crossfire during the drug wars in the 70s, and gave them instruments and taught them music, and spared them from getting killed or getting into drugs.
Into the dirty business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there are about 500,000 members in El Sistema. And what makes it even more exciting is that there is a youth orchestra in every 120
Countries?
no 120 towns of Venezuela.
Oh.
There are 120 youth orchestras in Venezuela.
Yeah.
I mean, I would consider the Philippines to be the only Latin American country in Asia.
Okay,
So,
I'll buy that.
So maybe we would be more akin to doing something like that.
Right.
And we would be able to see, my dream is to really see youth
Replicate
orchestras
that.
coming out of every region of this country. And we're already started with the Orchestra of the Filipino Youth. We reversed the way Venezuela treated Simon Bolivar Orchestra. You know, it took them 38 years to build that orchestra,
Right.
and all of the other youth orchestras. So we started out by already identifying youths that play music, but they are from underprivileged communities and families. And we give them free music education. So they have something to look forward to, instead of going into other things, like begging on the streets and doing drugs and other things that might lower their intellect and their integrity. And
I'm going to show the video that you brought about Misyon,
Yes.
supporting what you just said, you know. But we'll do that after the break.
Sure.
And then I want to hear the details of how you're succeeding at Misyon using the model of El Sistema. Yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take the break and we'll come back and talk to Sir Jovianney Cruz about his mission, which is music. So I'm your host, Raju Mandian. Stay watching. This is Expat Insights. Good morning. Welcome back to Expat Insights. We are talking to Sir Jovianney Emmanuel Cruz, pianist and artistic director of Misyon Music, Misyon lang, no? Misyon lang, no? And he also mentioned that he is the model for that Misyon is El Sistema of Venezuela, which he was and is a part of still.
we are working on affiliations.
Partnerships, no? So we'll show you that video that describes El Sistema and what Sir Jovianney just mentioned. So let's watch that video about Misyon in the Philippines.
People to think that, well, if we're not a rich country, we can't afford the arts, we can't afford music, and therefore let's keep it for a later time when we develop more.
This country is immersed with so much musical talent. The only thing that they are lacking is support.
A lot of kids, a lot of youth here are not given the opportunities to really develop their talents.
It's just waiting to come out, it's waiting to be trained, and it's waiting to spring out into the world. No? Misyon is basically a joint project between ABS-CBN and FTH. And basically what we're trying to do is strengthen the career path for orchestral musicians in the country. Isa stu po Filipino youth.
OFY really tries to help alleviate poverty through music education.
What we're doing is we're putting together the youth from underprivileged communities, giving them free music education, such as one-on-one lessons, music theory, music history, the fundamentals of music.
Sobrang thankful po ako sa OFY kasi po dahil po sa kanila, mas na-enhance ko po yung pagtugtog ko.
Napakalaking tulong po para sa anak ko, para sa amin. Dahil unang-una po, libre, sila pa ang bibigyan ng allowance.
Natutunan ko din po maging disiplinado at maging focus po at naging concentrate po.
Yung manner of teaching is so warm. Alagang-alaga sila doon. Pamilya talaga.
I also learned a lot there, and then you could play classical music while having fun.
Ang dami-dami nilang natututunan, iba-iba yung mga teachers na nag-workshop sa kanila.
Tinuro po sa akin ng OFY yung kailangan din po ng harmony para maganda yung tunog ng music tsaka yung relasyon din po namin.
Music is very important. No? It's got the ability to unite, to inspire, to get things done when words are not enough.
Napakalaking benepisyo para sa amin. Dahil yung pagpunta pa lang po sa Benpres, napaka-delikado na since naka-single na motor lang nga kami. Yung mga kasabay namin, malalaking truck. Hindi namin masusuportahan pa na ipasok pa siya sa ibang music school.
Every Friday, after I come from school, I go straight to the airport to fly to Manila. Even though there's like a lot of bad weather and sometimes the airfare's too expensive, I really insist on going there because I don't want to miss the practices and lessons of the OFY.
Doon niya kinuha lahat ng basics sa YouTube para makita namin kung paano. Kasi hindi po basta-basta magpapaaral ng violin. Ipasok namin sa School of Music siya. No? Actually, it's really expensive.
Kung gaano po kahirap na itawid po siya magmula sa Malabon sa amin. Pinapasan ko pa po siya. Tapos po pasalin-salin ng jeep, ng sasakyan. Kahit ang mahirap po, basang-basa po kami, basang-basa ang anak ko. Hindi na po namin alintana ang pagkakasakit. Kasi masaya po ang anak ko.
If we find ways to support it via this program and via training like this, then I think, we'll be doing the country such a big service.
An important thing that me and my friends learned in OFY is that when we're learning and spreading music, we're actually also spreading love.
Sa pamamagitan ng kanilang pagtugtog, no, ay maging inspirasyon ng mga kabataan din tulad nila na pwede pala din ang iba, hindi lang limitado sa ilan.
Gagawin namin lahat para suportahan si Angela at pati na rin ang OFY dahil papasalamat kami dahil sa malaking tulong na naibigay nila para sa mga anak namin.
Sulit na sulit po ang sacrifice ko, ang paghihirap ko po. Hindi kahit sino mang magulang, hindi mababayaran ang kasiyahan ng isang anak.
Right now, we are limited only to a number of students. But there are so many other people who can be given these opportunities.
Although ABS and FPH are providing the core funding for this project, this is something that we cannot do alone. Even both our companies, we can't do this alone.
It's truly a mission for the country to become known for something as beautiful as classical music.
That's something that also we would like to do for the Philippines, and I know that the Filipinos, because of that musical heart that they have, music is going to be able to change their lives and really become a social force that's so great that it'll be unstoppable.
Very good. Very good, very inspiring, very touching. Yeah? So a couple of questions, Sir Jovianney. Number one is you do have some really good help over there. There's some really inspiring help. You want to tell us a bit about this?
Sure. Ang Misyon is actually the umbrella corporation. It's a non-stock, non-profit corporation. And it's a union between First Philippine Holdings and ABS-CBN Broadcasting Network.
Yeah.
And the components, the idea there is like what I was saying, that we had to reverse or do an express version of El Sistema.
Yeah.
Is that the ABS-CBN Philharmonic Orchestra was established.
Yeah.
And the Orchestra of the Filipino Youth and the Sistema for the Filipino Youth is the educational component.
Yeah.
And the idea there is that those that graduate from the youth orchestra will already have a career path laid out for them with the ABS.
Philharmonic.
With the ABS-CBN Philharmonic
Right.
Orchestra. In other words, we have priority of who gets into there to the Big Brother Orchestra.
Well, how many people can it take? How many musicians can it take?
Well, right now there are 40. So, but for sure there are
40 musicians or
Yes.
40 groups?
40 musicians. And in the youth orchestra, we also have the older ones have
Students, oldest musicians?
Yeah, we have about 40 of those also, but we also have another 20 in what we call the prep club ensemble, which is the toddler.
The tender fingers.
Yeah,
Tender
basically
fingers,
the
yeah.
very, very young ones and
Yeah.
those who, and a lot of these kids never had w- formal training.
Right.
And a lot of them hardly had, some of them would learn from the YouTube or from CDs or from books.
The Trump or
On their own.
the Yamaha thing. Yeah.
Yes, on their own. And so that's how we found the talents. When we had auditions in June, we were so shocked that they come from Cebu, from Taytay, from Angono, Malabon.
June of last year.
Of last year. Of
Just
2000.
that.
Yes,
Just that.
yeah.
Okay.
So we actually formally opened in September.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
it's been only 4 months. And the synergy among all of these kids is quite fascinating. That they learn so much so quickly. And we are going to have our formal launch, a fundraiser for the orchestra in March. Most likely it will be in Rockwell 10th. And we are also making an appearance in White Cross Children's Orphanage in San Juan in February to also, because we would like to make the kids feel that they are
Valuable.
already paying forward
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
stage, this
Right.
early stage, and they're already paying forward to, because they already received such a blessing by being part of the Sistema and being part of the youth orchestra.
But so my question is, number one, of course you're telling me what's happening on the ground level, no? But the numbers of people involved seem small to make a larger impact. I could be wrong there, so correct me, 40 and 100. How do you expect to make a larger social impact with starting this small?
Well, because it will build, just like
How?
El Sistema in Venezuela.
Yeah, I know.
We will continue to have auditions.
They did 500,000 in 30 years.
Yeah,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, 30 years, yeah.
But we want to open up new, different satellites in the different communities. We're already looking into Muntinlupa, possibly. Bohol is another possibility. And there are other places that are interested in actually building their own system, which we can help in guiding them how to build it. So ours was really we were the lab rats.
The first youth
The
orchestra.
first one, yeah.
So the strategy is not just, of course, letting FHS and ABS-CBN finance you. How else do you want to go about creating the support system to reach out every little community?
Yes, I understand. We actually had ABS-CBN and FPH were basically the ones that gave the seed money to be able to build this. Of course, we need, as the video also says that Federico Lopez was saying, that they cannot do it alone. So we have put together pledge donation packages, going from adopting a musician for a year, for example. 25,000 pesos, for example, can adopt a musician.
For a year.
For a year.
For his training in music.
And it goes up all the way to maybe 250,000 pesos.
Wow. So that's built into the business model, the organizational model, and into the website.
Yes.
No?
We sell the seats also, for example.
The two
chair.
shows, the two shows that are coming up.
Like, for example, if there is somebody wants to adopt the principal chair of the cello section, for example, that will cost you
We
about
have guests
50,000.
sitting here who are willing and ready to do this. Yeah.
That would be wonderful. And so we're trying to, it's not only corporate donations, but of course individuals. Some have already pledged. And it gets us going, It helps the continuous function and operations of Misyon.
Sir, in one of your blogs, or maybe it was on one of the videos on your website, you have mentioned that to be a good musician, one has to eventually become a good human being. From that perspective, how do you see the future of these kids who are with you today?
Well, we're not only educating them in music, we're giving them social values. I think it's more important to be a good human being first than become a good musician.
So it's human being first.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think that even if these kids decide not to take music as a career, at least we were able to instill into them the discipline of music, which requires a lot of organization, lots
okay.
of
It's like going into the army for 10 years. Yeah.
Right, you know, dealing with harmony, unity, things that and paying it forward. I
Right.
think
Returning, giving it back.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's more important than being able to play a Paganini etude. You know.
How long will Ang Misyon support them? How long will they hold hands? Or when will you let them fly on their own? Or will there be a time?
There might not be a time. Hopefully, there won't be a time that will happen. I think that we need that kind of foundation, a strong foundation that people will look up to and see the value of what we're doing, and eventually build their own little foundations.
So it becomes a living thing.
Absolutely.
Something that spreads.
Yeah. Hopefully, you know, as quickly as mitosis. Hopefully, you know.
As quickly as what?
Mitosis.
Okay. All right. That's how it spread. Sir Jovianney, this is wonderful what you're doing, and I hope your music spreads. I hope your mission succeeds. I'm sure it is, because it has no other agenda but to succeed. No? This morning I was lucky enough, when I was coming here, I was thinking about you and what you're doing, and I happened to see a couple of kids on the streets of the Philippines. I want you to see them, and while you watch, I want you to think about the question, what does the future hold for yourself? So let's show that clip of kids dancing and being musical on the streets of the Philippines. There you go, Sir Jovianney. Those are your customers. Those are your future customers.
Can you imagine if they were educationally, you know, if they were given the education of music, the proper discipline.
From that age, from that tender age, yeah.
You know, and that's exactly what happened in Venezuela. I mean, during Christmas season, I always see a lot of children. Instead of begging,
I know.
Merry
Christmas to you.
They're doing Christmas carols with instruments that they make themselves.
Yeah.
You know, out of cans.
Pasco.
You know, out of cans and drums and you know, bottles and stuff like that. So that's the idea. And if you give them, I mean, all over the world, you see Filipinos in hotels and cruise ships.
In my country, in India, there are bands of Filipinos.
And they are so talented.
Yeah.
What more if they were given the proper
and
education, the discipline
and the structure. So thank you very much for being on this show and honoring this little studio here, and for the good work you're doing up there. So maybe you want to close with talking to those kids and inviting them to reach you. What are your words for those kids up there?
Well, I noticed that a lot of the music that's being performed in the Philippines is mostly commercial and pop music.
Right, that's the point.
So if we can find a way to balance society, that it will be spread out equally.
To give it some emancipation. And
Absolutely.
Let's not call it culture, but let's give it
some kind of place in society.
Some kind of,
balance of society. I think that it will help more if kids look at classical music as nothing scary
Yeah,
or
like
something unreachable, but rather something that they can embrace and make it a career path, because eventually the discipline of it makes them better members of society.
better human beings. Salamat po,
Thank you again.
gracias, and God bless you on your journey.
Thank you.
God
Thank you.
bless you on your musical journey.
He already has.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching this part of the show, Music as a Mission, and that was our guest, Jovianney Emmanuel. Cruz, right after the break, we'll come back with people from Making Miracles Quickly. Stay watching. This is Expat Insights.